We are live. Okay. Oh my God. I'm gonna blame your whole power outage situation that you had there in all of this. I'm just gonna blame you. It's much easier than blaming me. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Someone's saying no sound from you, no audio from Aaron. Uh-oh. I'm checking it. It's not coming through. All right, folks, he's standby. He's getting there. See, it's all Aaron's fault. Usually it's my fault when these things mess up, but this time, yes, it's Aaron's fault, which is awesome. And hopefully what the audience hears is better than what I'm hearing, because I'm getting a super crunchy signal from you. Oh, that's all. Okay, got it. All right, I'm just hearing him from the AirPods. Y'all be hearing him through proper sound. He's going to unplug things and see what happens next. What could possibly go wrong? He's just unplug everything. How y'all doing today? I don't want to start all the fun without him. That'd be somewhat unfair. How is my audio? Let's get important. Let's get into the important things. How is my audio? As long as you can hear me, I'm good. No, is everything here? Everybody hearing me okay? Let's see. I'm seeing people saying still nothing from Aaron, no audio from Aaron. Hopefully those in Aaron's channel are hearing my audio is great. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Alex. Okay, good. So we're getting good audio from me. And all I'm doing right now is actually being routed through Zoom. My stream to his stream deck was not working. So we don't know why that was happening, but we had to scramble for something else. All right, let's get everybody over in your channel talking.
There we go.
I got people on my channel. We got like way more viewers on your channel. I used to be like the live guy, and now Aaron has taken that throne from me. It's a little bit upsetting, but I guess I'll have to live with it.
Okay, I think I'm here.
Okay, can you guys hear him now? They hear you. All right.
Excellent. Looks like I'm a little bit louder. I'm gonna turn myself down. Cool.
All right, and I'm gonna leave you in my ears because I don't trust Zoom right now. Yeah. So what's your show, baby? Start it off.
All right. Well, hey, it's your show too. We're on your channel as well. Welcome. That was quite an announcement by Blackmagic, and I am super excited about everything they just talked about, pretty much. So let's go ahead and chat. I'm looking at both of our chats on YouTube.
You know, I'm gonna ask you, Aaron. I'm gonna hold on a second. Is there any way you can route your proper audio to me? Or if you're wearing an earbud and it's covered by your earphone, that might be why I can barely hear you. But I'm happy.
I can't, because then you would be hearing yourself as well.
Oh, so you're covering it. No wonder I can't hear you talking, because you're.
Oh, let me do this.
You're literally covering your earbud. There we go. Yeah, that's better.
This looks great. we're really good at this.
At least I can hear you now.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
High tech. High
tech streaming, but we do what we can.
Well, yeah, like I was saying in the beginning when you're off, the Stream Deck for whatever reason isn't working. We don't know why. That's why we're doing this via a Zoom connection, which is just a little bit screwy, but there you go.
Yeah, so what you're seeing on the stream is actually my computer monitor showing Joseph. So we are in real time, but it is it is a Zoom screen. So if I move my computer monitor, so I can't use my computer either right now.
Well, let's start this off with the free part, the software update for the ATEM Mini Pro and Pro ISO, adding mobile tethering support. How sweet is that?
That I was not expecting that whatsoever. No. Frankly, that
not at all.
Super cool. So
it is super
I was getting ready to do a bunch of videos about like how to stream wirelessly from your ATEM Mini by using a travel router and stuff. So
aren't you glad you didn't?
Glad I hit pause on that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's always the problem, isn't it? We were talking about that during the show. You plan a show around an ATEM and then they go and release some. You're like, oh, I found this great workaround. And somebody over there goes, oh yeah, we'll write that into a feature and we'll release it. Grant, get up on stage.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to that. Super cool. You can just plug in a USB into your phone now, and then your phone's network connection becomes the internet connection for the ATEM. That is cool. That is very cool.
That is very cool. And what was really impressive about it was the seamless handoff. So he had his Ethernet connection going. He was streaming. He plugged in the phone, unplugged the Ethernet, and it switched over almost perfect. There's like a tiny little glitch, and that's it. And that's incredible.
Yeah, and
I mean,
because the ATEM has the cache, the buffering, the viewers won't actually see a gap either. It'll pause, but then it'll resume the same content. So if you're like playing music, all of the audio actually makes it up into the stream. So the replay is perfect then.
Yeah, that was super cool. So that was very impressive, and that is a free update for the Pro and the Pro ISO. I think he said it's available today. I haven't looked to see if it's actually there yet or not, but that's awesome.
Yeah, he said it would be launched today, so I'm definitely downloading that. I'm going to try that out. Super, super exciting. So
all right, so enough about the free stuff.
Yeah.
ATEM Mini Pro Extreme ISO with a twist. I mean, my God, someone said in the chat, "Do you get a bowl of soup with this?" Like, you get everything. It's insane.
Yeah, it's like they took. Oh, sorry about that. My Alt tab is on the wrong screen. Yeah, it's like they took my wish list and went even farther. I didn't think they were going to do that much with it.
Yeah. No, we have to admit that both Aaron and I were slightly distracted during the show trying to get this thing set up because we weren't clever enough to get this set up before the actual live streaming event.
Right.
So we might have missed some of the details, but just on the simple recap, 8 HDMI input switcher with full camera control if you're using the Blackmagic cameras, advanced DVE effect, dual DVE effect, dual upsource
two
keys.
DVEs,
2 DVEs,
4 upstream keys.
That was 4 upstream keys, 2 DVEs.
Upstream key means
so the 4 upstream.
So upstream key is for green screen, so you can green screen 4 cameras now. You can also use the upstream key for Luma key, and then like out of nowhere they were like, oh, by the way, also it has super source, and super source is the thing that Joseph, you used on your huge ATEM to do that live show with 4 of us, and that's in the Mini now.
The Extreme,
the Extreme, which is out of control. It is extreme.
That is out of control. And just to put that in reference, people who might not appreciate that, the only reason that I own the ATEM 2 ME, which is a $4,000, or was it $6,000? Some ridiculous amount of money switcher, is for the super source. But now you get that on the $1,000 switcher. Ouch. That's crazy. That is impressive as hell.
It is very impressive. It is impressive they're able to hit it at that price point. Every time they started mentioning features, the price in my head was going up, up, up. I was just like, oh, so now it's 1,000. Oh, it's got to be 1,200 now. It's got to be 1,500. Oh, well then they got super source. It's clearly over 2,000, and then it came in at 995. So it's unbelievable.
It really is.
Yeah. So this basically makes the television studio model 100% obsolete, because that now has nothing. There's no comparison. Like that one has two media players and 2 DVEs, or 2 downstream keys, which the Extreme has now also. So that was basically the only advantage of that over the Mini in the first place. I guess it has SDI, but just get a bunch of converters.
Right. That's all you need is the converter.
Yeah.
And those are cheap now too.
Yeah.
Especially at 1080p, because most of the converters that you'd buy that you spend real money on the 4K ones, the 1080p ones are like $50 or something. So.
Yeah. So actually, interesting point. No mention of 4K. It is still all
except
1080.
for recording in the cameras. So if you want to do a 4K production and you've got your extreme ISO, you can still trigger recording in the cameras, in the Blackmagic cameras, which I guess you can do anyway. Even with the extreme non-ISO, you can still trigger recording in the connected Blackmagic cameras. But the advantage of the ISO is you get the XML file, the switching of camera angles. So if you want to take your live show and repurpose that without having to re-edit it from scratch. But I'm not that surprised that they're not doing streaming in 4K, because streaming in 4K is still, who needs that?
Yeah.
It's not, I've had that capability for years and I don't do it because most people aren't watching it that way. It doesn't really matter. You gain very little benefit. There's a lot of advantage for 4K as an upload, but for a live event, it's really hard to justify that. There's really no need for it. And you're at much higher risk of bandwidth limitations. So I think it's for now, at least we're better off just sticking with 1080. Yeah, and obviously when you can do it for $1,000, wow. Someone in the chat is asking if we can explain super source. So to explain what happens if you don't have super source, you have essentially this, well, okay, this bad illustration, but your background layer.
No, this is exactly actually
video.
what we like. This show right now is what happens when you don't have super source. So
Okay, no, that's fair, right?
let
So
me
this show right
put
now is what
just you
happens
on
when you
screen.
don't have super source. You've got one layer that is, okay, there's me, and then normal, well, actually the background in this case would be Aaron. He's the kind of backplate, and then there you go. There's this backplate.
Yeah,
Notice how
normally
Aaron is
this
positioned off to the side. So Aaron's had to position himself to the side because he cannot move himself. However, me coming in on an upstream key, I can be cropped and repositioned, but that's only one. So he can crop me, he can scale me, he can position me anywhere in there. That's how you do a picture in picture. But then that's it. That's the end of the discussion. There we go. That's the end of it, right? That you can't do any more. If you wanted to take him and make him cropped and small and on the left-hand side, and take me and make me cropped and small and on the right-hand side, you can't do that without super source. So super source gives you the ability to have 4 inputs, in this case, positioned wherever you want on screen. And that's what the ATEM 2ME that I use has been the only hardware that did it. But now we've got this in $1,000 switcher, which is just nuts.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So yeah, with the super source, you get 4, basically think of it as little floating windows. So you can just take any video, put it in a floating window, shrink it, crop it, move it around, 4 of them. And the demo he showed was just the default layout of the grid, typical 4-up grid style with a background layer. But you can move them around and crop whatever you want, which is, yeah, super, super amazing.
Someone in the chat here saying the ISO only does MP4, which is highly compressed. And yes, that's right. You're basically with the ISO, you are capturing, actually, I think maybe this might not be true for the ISO, but tell me if I'm wrong, Aaron. You're capturing what is streaming. If you're capturing the program, that is what's being streamed. But on the ISOs, maybe it's not. Maybe it is capturing a higher rate.
So with the ISO, the program out is the same encoding as whatever is streaming. So like your video file that mixes everything together, that's encoded at the bit rate that is streaming. But the ISO recordings are all at 70 megabits a second. It's still MP4, but it's at the highest bit rate. So it's a lot better quality than whatever is streaming, but it is still MP4. It's not like ProRes or whatever.
Right. So then if you do want the higher quality, that's where the Blackmagic cinema cameras become useful, because those are plugged in and those can be triggered to record in B-RAW in camera in 4K or even in 6K. So you do get that really high quality recording if necessary. Now keep in mind, if you don't have those kind of cameras, you can still do a manual recording. You just walk up to each camera and hit record on there and record at whatever its highest quality internal is. Like, for example, and this is something that I showed when I did my ATEM Mini Pro ISO video where I had the musician on. What I did was I triggered recording manually. You got to literally walk around and push the button on each camera, but I was recording internally 4K log while outputting over the HDMI a 1080p signal with a LUT embedded. So that LUTted 1080p, so it's a LUTted downscaled log image, was what was being fed out of the cameras into the ISO. And then I was recording that. So you can still do that. You can absolutely still do that. You don't have to have the Blackmagic cameras to be able to record the higher bit rate, the higher quality, high resolution log, any of that. It's just a convenience factor. It's literally one button on the deck will start recording on all the decks. And then you have the very convenient swap out and resolve from the MP4 files, swapping in for the for the B-RAW files, which is obviously very nice, but you can 100% do this without Blackmagic cameras.
Yeah, and Chris is asking if someone buys 4 of the 4K cameras, they don't need the ISO. I mean, well, yes and no, because the ISO is the thing creating the resolve project with the cuts. So without that, you would have to do, you would just, like any production where you just record in camera, edit all later. But with the ISO, it's doing the cuts for you.
The advantage, yeah, exactly. With the ISO, you're recording those cuts into an XML file so that your live production is now recreated frame for frame in a higher quality version, which you can then go back in and say, oh, I cut a little bit too late here, so you can slip it. You can you could change camera angle. Oh, I switched to camera B, I should have gone to C. You can change that out, you can fix that. But I got to be honest, if you're recording the XML file from a live production and you're going to do any amount of significant re-editing other than a couple of oops, I messed this up, it is easier to just start from scratch. It'll take you longer to go back in and watch every edit, back up past that edit, move it, go to the next edit, back up, change it. It'll be faster to just hit play on your 4-up display and just start switching live to in the NLE. I've done this enough to know that if you're doing a major re-edit, just start over. It's just faster that way. Yeah. So that said, having the ISO there is not critical. Given it's a $300 difference from $1,000 to $1,300, I mean, may as well. You're not really it's not like you're going from the $300 to the $900 option, or even from the $600 ATEM Mini Pro to the $900 ATEM Mini Pro ISO, where it's a 50% jump in price. Now it's only a 30% jump in price, so that's pretty easy to justify.
I think so, and I've actually used the ISO to record several YouTube videos for this channel, just because I want to get a video done fast. I can record 4 things at once, bring it all in, and yeah, it's not the highest quality recording. It is a 70 megabit MP4 that I'm editing and then scrunching down to 6 megabits when I upload. But it's good enough for a lot of things. So it just makes it a lot easier to just have all the footage on a USB drive after I'm done recording. It's already all synced up. They all start in at the same spot. And yeah, I just like it for the ISO. So I'm gonna get the ISO extreme, the extreme ISO, so that I can, that'll become my main switcher, and then I'll be able to record 8 things at once, which is it's a lot. Yeah,
and so I'm looking at, I'm like, I think I'm not going to, but I also already have the 2ME, so I don't need it for super source. The few live streaming gigs that I have been hired to do, it's a 4-camera shoot or less, so I can still handle that with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO that I have. I don't need it, so I'd be getting it just to do YouTube videos around it, and I figure I don't need to. I'm going to pass on this one. However, that said, the video that I have been planning, the thumbnail's already designed, I'm actually going to shoot today, and I was just waiting for today's announcement, which is perfect. I'm going to show you how you can take your ATEM Mini Pro or Pro ISO and add 3 more HDMI inputs to it for just $100 each. And I'm going to leave it at that and let some of you out there figure out what that means. But it's going to be a fun video. And so for anybody who's got one of these is like, I just want more inputs, stick around. My next video is going to cover that. So you'll be happy.
Nice. Yeah.
The funny thing is, Aaron, you should see the Photoshop job that I did to add more HDMI inputs onto the ATEM. This part of the thumbnail. And it basically looks like the back of this stupid ATEM Extreme.
Right.
Damn it, it's almost like I knew, but I didn't. I really didn't.
Yeah. So, okay, so we talked about inputs and the upstream, downstream keys, but outputs, there's a big change with the outputs too. They actually listened to everybody yelling at them for so long. There are 2 HDMI outs and a headphone jack, which is basically solves all the problems. Oh, and 2 USBs. So 2 HDMIs, and I think it was really clever of them to make them both aux outputs, rather than one being fixed as multi-view or fixed as the program. So basically, you get 2 HDMI outs, and you can do whatever you want with them. You can make it program and multi-view, or you can just pass any 2 of your inputs to the outputs and just stream blind, right? So you can use it for blowing up a image in a space. You can have one going to a projector. You can have, showing the slides from the presenter's computer. I do that a lot. I use that feature on the television studio a ton because it has 1 aux out. But yeah, 2 HDMI outs, both are assignable, and a headphone jack. Oh, and he mentioned the headphone jack is not just program audio. It's actually also assignable. So very cool. Very cool to see that.
Yeah, that headphone jack is definitely a big deal. And then, now he said something, there's 2 USB-C outputs as well.
Yeah.
And he said something that confused me, and maybe I was only half listening, but he said you can hook up a hub just like before, just like you always could, or something like that. And I heard that, I go, wait a minute, but you can't.
Well, you can hook up a hub. It just lets you plug in more hard drives.
Oh, that's it. It's just for the hard drives. Okay.
Yeah, because it'll do
the problem, and I know people
continuous recording. It'll let you yank a drive, and then it'll switch to recording to the other drive, so you can rotate them out.
That's okay. So that's what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking there's been this problem with having one port where you can't simultaneously record while using it as a webcam. And that's because the USB-C protocol literally changes inside of the hardware when you plug in a drive versus plugging in a computer. So now you can get both. And great, the hub is just for the recording. Okay, so that's what he meant by that.
Yeah.
I knew I was only half listening at that point.
Yeah, I was only half listening at that point too. I think that was when we were scrambling to get some of this stream set up.
Yes.
But yeah, now there's 2 USBs, so you can actually
And someone in the chat is saying that the hub will work for the SSDs and phone tethering. So that's interesting.
Right.
If you can use the hub, to hook up SSDs and a phone, even on the single port, that's definitely handy too. Because would that work? Yeah, because this gets us pulling data in. Wow, that's interesting. I don't even know which protocol that would use for pulling in the data, but I guess that makes sense if it's a data path. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Right, because it's sending the data to the drives and sending the data to.
It's not about which direction the data is flowing. It's about which one is the host and which one is the guest device in USB terms. So like in USB, one device has to be the device that's like in control and hosting the other device. So then the other one will go into like the guest mode where you plug in a hard drive. That thing is being powered and controlled by the device it's plugged into. So that's the same with tethering and the drive, right? Where both the tethering device and the drive are being controlled by the computer, the ATEM, which is not the same as in a webcam mode where the computer treats the ATEM as the guest.
Got it. Yeah. Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. Now I understand. I never really totally understood, but now I do. Okay, how about let's talk about the other really cool new feature on the big one, macro buttons.
Yes.
It
kind of felt like they were like, oh, we've got some extra room left. Let's throw some macro buttons since everybody keeps asking for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now I do wish, this is one of the things, I wonder why they haven't done this. Allow us to reprogram some of the buttons on the existing hardware to be macros, because, I'm looking at mine right now and there's like, 24 little buttons that I never ever use. Let me reprogram those. Or even the main switching buttons. I don't want to use 1, 2, 3, and 4 to switch angles. I want these to trigger macros 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Let me do that. I wish that they would do that.
I do wish they were reassignable. I still feel like they could do that in firmware. So maybe there's still hope, but at least there's macro buttons now.
At least there's macro buttons. There are at least macro buttons. Of course, this thing is going to take up half of your desk. I'm looking at my desk. I'm like, I definitely don't want this thing on my desk. It's too big.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine, and I've got the large Stream Deck next to it now too, and it's going to be. I didn't quite get a sense of how big it actually is. It looks like it's not quite twice as wide as the existing one, but
I would say pretty close to it. But yeah, maybe not quite. Yep, it's impressive. All right, what else are we missing? I'm sure. Tell us in the chat. What else are we missing? I feel like there's something else.
Ton of chat.
I'm refreshing the webpage. Somebody told me that it was on the webpage now, but I'm refreshing and it's not showing up for me. Oh, no, there it is. Now it's there. Okay. I just had to refresh one more time. I'm going to scan through the website and see if we're missing.
So yeah, can you stream, record, and use it as a webcam all at the same time? Yes, you can. So with 2 USBs, one is the webcam, one's for a drive, and then streaming over Ethernet. Obviously not streaming over tethering. You would, unless you can do that through a hub. So yeah,
if you do that through a hub, then you could, yeah. Right, but the streaming is over the Ethernet. That's the key there. And I think that's a confusion point for a lot of people, because I get asked that a lot. Understanding, can I do this and this with the existing Mini Pro and Pro ISO? Like, the streaming is handled over the Ethernet. The streaming is built into the hardware. You just need the data port. You don't have to use your USB or your HDMI port to handle the streaming. That is handled internally, which is very good.
So where people are asking where you can buy it, it is released now, which means they're shipping it to distributors. And I put links in my video down below to the DVE stores page. Those are affiliate links. It definitely helps out the channel when you buy them from those links. So please consider doing that. And I
did the same on mine, although I realized that I haven't affiliated mine yet, so I'm just sending traffic there without affiliating it. Oh well, I'll get that later.
Yeah. So yeah,
anybody who buys one, send me $20 too, will you?
Yeah. DVE store has those product listings up. I'm sure they're going to be getting a bunch of them, but I don't know about other UK or EU sellers yet.
Yeah, DVE store is smart like this. They realize they don't actually have to have it in stock or even a SKU number. They just make something up. All they got to do is build a web page and start taking money. We know the price and we got a thumbnail. We start taking money.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think their
Oh,
thumbnail is even a screen grab from the video that they just photoshopped out and dropped in there.
I think so. The people are saying it's 14.5 inches wide, so 50% wider. Not bad. Okay.
Only 50% wider. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is surprising.
That means I have to design a new version of my stand for this now too. So
There you go.
but most of that work is, I
See,
think, is in the most of the hard work is that is done. It should just be sort of scaling things up in the 3D modeling software, I think.
yeah. Yeah. I'm scrolling through the website. The scaling on inputs has not changed from what I can
Yeah.
see. It is still 720 and 1080 inputs and all 1080 outputs. So it can't
Yep.
scale down from 4K. That would be, I think, a nice feature, but I totally recognize that requires a lot more power. If it could scale down from 4K, because some
Benny is
cameras
asking
that can
if you can scale 120 frames per second instead of 4K. Can you
No.
tell?
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart. It's all input that maxes out at 1080p 60 or 1080i 60. That's
Okay.
the max. So
Okay.
no 120. No 120. Oh, I just got an email from Blackmagic PR. Let's see if there's anything in here that's.
Another cool feature, which now that I've been using my Blackmagic camera more, the camera control on the device itself is actually super cool because it's got the, I think in particular, the autofocus button. So there's a button now on the ATEM that will tell the camera to do the autofocus. So you can actually like sit down and then press a button to have it do, latch on. Whereas before I have to go grab a phone, Bluetooth connect to the camera, because I need it to focus on me and I'm in front of the camera and I can't get behind the camera.
But are you using Blackmagic cameras?
At the table over there, I am.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I've been
Okay.
slowly working it into the workflow. I've got a LUT now that makes it look almost exactly like this camera, which is the
Okay.
G7, which is kind of a funny one to try to match to, but I like the colors.
Hey, it looks it's a good look.
Yeah.
So which camera do you have? Do you have the Pocket Cinema
4K.
4K in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know you'd done that. Cool.
Yeah, I
yeah,
actually got it a
there's
while
huge
ago, but
advantages
it's
to that
been
for sure.
slowly being worked into my workflow.
Right. I'm looking at their website. There's a picture of the audio interface in the software, the audio interface, and all the inputs, along with all the EQing, all the Fairlight stuff
Yeah.
for every input on the big one. That's impressive. I mean, Fairlight on each one of those inputs. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. I'm gonna go back to my chat and see what's going on there because there's a
So
lot.
I
of
actually
data
want to talk
flying by.
about the Web Presenter, the new Web
Yeah.
Presenter device. That thing is actually really cool too. And I remember seeing the Web Presenter original version a while ago, was not really interested in it because it was 720 only, and it was basically just like a webcam
Right.
capture.
Right.
But this looks like they finally figured it out. Like SDIN rack mount, so it's meant to go in your rack with everything else and be used for pro switchers. And it's both a webcam and it can actually stream to YouTube and RTMP sources now. So
Right.
it is
It's-
yeah, it's actually, basically they took the streaming encoder from the ATEM Mini, put it into a rack device for all the rack mount switchers.
Right. So this replaces the long ago obsoleted Epiphan Webcaster X2, which was a really nice little $300 encoder with HDMI input. That was a beautiful little device. That's all it did. It didn't have the USB feature, but it gave you that ability to stream HDMI in, so you could take your switcher, plug into that, or even plug in a webcam to it and do some very, very rudimentary switching inside of it. But that got canceled. Man, they must still be kicking themselves in the butt for canceling that product when they did, because they canceled that just before COVID hit and sold out all their stock and couldn't ramp up production, I guess, and never replaced it.
And just after the ATEM Mini launched, which it was actually perfect to pair with the Mini, the original Mini.
Yeah. Well, I remember I did a video on pairing it, and it was like a week after I did that video that Epiphan calls me and is like, yeah, we canceled that product. And people have been asking ever since for a replacement, and there's some cheap encoders on Amazon, but they're not very good. And I've seen nothing that's great. So this is awesome. So $500 for this encoder, like you said, it's SDIN, it gives you the encoding, but then all that data monitoring, that to me is really, really interesting. I'm going to pull up the website on that, being able to see if you're getting an 8 or 10 bit signal in, all all kinds of audio monitoring. It's super interesting. I gotta pull that thing up.
Yeah, a lot of stats on the stream health and a little graph showing you the bandwidth of the and like how much data it's requiring to encode over time. People are saying the web presenter accepts a 12G 4K signal, but does not stream at 4K, which is true.
Okay.
But again, I don't think streaming at 4K is really necessary.
It's not really a thing. And here's something that's really interesting. So, I've got that Pearl that I use for encoding. One of the big advantages of the Pearl as an encoder is that you can do I can stream to multiple destinations, each one having its own bit rate, its own resolution, and so on. This, you could just take multiples of these. Since they're rack mounted, they're $500 each. As many streams as you want to encode, you could have a series of these. Now they've got, does it have a loop out on the SDI?
Yeah.
It must, right? Okay,
SDI
so there you go. So you just,
out.
there you go, SDI and loop out. So you just loop a series of these, and each one of them you set to encode, however you want. So you got like a 1080p going to YouTube, and a 720 to Facebook, and a 1080 by 1920 by 10 or 1080 by 1920 vertical for Instagram if you wanted to stream to that using that yellow duck thing. That's interesting, and that's cheap. I mean, $500 a pop for that with the SDI stream throughput and the whole webcam feature. Now, to me, that's something I would buy. That's probably more interesting. I don't need it, but it's kind of cool.
No, it's super cool. It's like if you're going for a full rack mount setup and you have the 2ME switcher, it is perfect for streaming from that whole system.
Yep.
Because we were talking about this on my show for the last couple of weeks of like that whole rack mount Pro line is really missing out on all the features in the ATEM Mini, like the streaming encoder, and this now you can add it for I think actually a reasonable price.
Oh yeah, totally reasonable. Yeah, you can buy a cheaper encoder, but it doesn't have the features. It certainly doesn't have the monitoring capabilities. And also, I've never seen one that also doubles as a webcam, so that's crazy cool.
Right. Yeah.
No, I think this is great. And yeah, the whole monitoring capabilities, monitoring the bit rate of the signal and that's nice big display, that's pretty slick. That in itself, I think, is very interesting and potentially a reason to get it. In fact, yeah, I'm going to hit my DVE people and tell them to put one of those in the cart for me because I want that thing.
Yeah, that seems like it fits your studio better than mine because I actually like using the Minio in the studio, and I don't really need the rack mount version of it, but you have the whole rack gear set up with 6 HyperDecks and the 2ME, so it fits in perfect with that.
Yeah, it does fit in perfectly for that. Okay. All right. Well, I knew I was going to spend some money today, so there we go.
Use my affiliate link.
Yeah. Do you have one up for the web presenter already?
I do. Yeah. In my video, I put affiliate links for all of them already. So if you don't see them yet, refresh.
I am behind.
And
I was too busy screwing around with your connection.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Let me go back to the chat because there's so much going on in there, and I know I'm missing some. Someone had asked about the streaming bridge. I don't know what the question was though. Let me see if I can find it.
So no, this is actually a totally different device than the streaming bridge. The streaming bridge is to receive a stream from an ATEM.
Right. Yeah. Someone had just asked, will the streaming bridge still work? There it is. So Michael, yeah. So the streaming bridge, the whole point of that is you stream to that as a destination. Instead of streaming to YouTube or to Facebook, you're streaming to a bridge. And that's how Aaron and I should be communicating right now. But there was something wrong, and so we had to bail on it. But that's when, if you saw the show on my channel, well, on both of our channels, where he and myself and Tommy were in, or he, myself, and Tommy and Frederick, we all were in together. That was through streaming bridges. I have 3 streaming bridges in my system, so I can have 3 people streaming to me directly that I can then incorporate them in with my show. And that's absolutely still works because those streaming bridges have HDMI and SDI out, so you can just plug that into anything. So, yeah, those are still totally valid and an extremely cool product. The streaming bridges that's awesome.
Yeah. So the question, which I missed if he mentioned it, but does the new web presenter stream to a streaming bridge? I would assume so.
I lost you. Say that again.
Can the new web presenter stream to a streaming bridge?
Oh, interesting.
I would assume so, but I actually missed if he said that. I think we were scrambling at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. If anybody knows that, let us know. Michael is asking in my chat, can I stream to Instagram with your ATEM Mini Pro? You can. It's a little bit of a hack. The Google, is it Yellow? Yeah, yellowduck.tv. That's the website. Let me just make sure that they're still actually online. Yeah, yellowduck.tv. It's kind of a relay system that they've got some way of doing a stream to Instagram. So you stream, you set it up in there, it creates the key, you copy that key into your encoder, and off you go. It's a bit of a bit hacky, but it works, and it has a 1 hour max. It'll just stop after 60 minutes. So you definitely have to keep under the limit. But what I've done is, and this is where the the Pearl 2ME is, let's get that right. This is where the Pearl 2 is beautiful, because in the Pearl 2, I can create a customized aspect ratio. So I can literally stream a vertical stream and feed it into that. And so that's pretty sweet. And I don't know if you can do that with the Web Presenter. Interesting.
Just found the website. I'm going to cover your face with this for a second. Oh, I can't. There we go. The website does say that the Web Presenter can stream to the streaming bridge, which is super cool. Super cool.
That's fantastic.
That is very exciting. Because that basically...
Okay. Go ahead. Oh,
that
now
makes
this,
it
this
so
really
that
opens
you
me
can,
up.
like, forget the ATEM Mini line. If you're in a broadcast studio with rack mount gear, you can now have a full studio stream to another studio, SDI everywhere on both ends.
It also means that if you are doing remote interviews and you want to send, you're going to send a camera kit to your remote interviewee, you can now send them a camera with a Web Presenter and no longer have to send them an ATEM Mini Pro, which was only a couple $100 more, but that's what you'd have to send before. So a camera with a Web Presenter pre-configured to stream back to your bridge, and they just plug it in, turn it on, and hit go. And now there's that. It's a one-way connection. You still have to have the back channel over Zoom, but you do have that one-way connection that'll be a very, very high-quality stream.
Yep. Super cool.
Very, very super cool.
People are wondering why I am using AirPods and headphones. Long story is we were trying to get this show set up using the streaming bridge, which is normally how we done it before. Had to switch to using Zoom. So we had a Zoom call already, which is the back channel for the streaming bridge link. And now Photo Joseph is you're just looking at my monitor, my computer monitor. That's my computer monitor is showing him. So I had to route my computer's Zoom through the HDMI into the ATEM, which meant that I couldn't hear him from my computer headphones anymore. So I had to plug in these headphones to monitor my ATEM audio, which means I'm hearing myself on an echo, and it's very distracting, but I think I'm doing okay. And I can't send Joseph that audio from my ATEM, because then he would get feedback of himself, because his audio is running into the ATEM also. So this is actually just a microphone so he can hear me.
Which is why having the bridge makes things so much better. But for whatever reason, I couldn't. It was just kept dropping. So weird.
Some internet issue. Like I tried streaming from my home ATEM to mine, and it was fine, but it wouldn't work from Joseph's studio. So there could be some just internet hiccups right now between the two.
And let's keep in mind, Aaron City has been under snow for the last week, and it just started to thaw. So
I was not sure I was going to make it to the studio today. I had to actually bike through some snow to get here, which is not actually very fun. And my power was out for about 6 or 7 hours on Monday, both at home and at the studio. Internet was out basically all day Saturday, and that was quite it's been a mess. Most of Portland's been out of power for the last couple of days now, and it's just starting to come back online. So I'm actually lucky to have power here right now.
Someone's saying you don't even need a device for your guests. Just use vMix call web page, and it does two-way audio and video.
Yeah,
so that's not going to give. Go ahead.
That works fine. The problem is getting that audio into the ATEM if you're not streaming from vMix. If you're streaming from vMix, it's great. Like it's 100% set up for that. No fiddling. But if you are trying to get that into the ATEM, then you have to, there's more steps involved.
Yeah. And how good is the vMix caller? How well does that work?
I've actually heard mixed, not so great things about it. I've heard that it glitches quite a bit. That's the problem that I have with Mimo Live and Mimo Caller. Mimo Caller is very unreliable. Okay. Yeah, I haven't actually used vMix Call myself. I've just been hearing anecdotes. I have used Ecamm, which is only on Mac, but it's same idea as vMix. It's like a simpler version of it, a lot easier to use, frankly. And they also have a call feature, and it works great. I haven't had any problems. I did a show with it a while ago, and yeah, it was very easy. But
It is actually surprisingly complicated to do a high quality Zoom-like call. To have this with, especially with multiple guests, just two people, it gets easier, but you want three or more people. You want to integrate in, you want to have it high quality. It's really hard to do. And the best solutions require a back channel communication, require that you have a secondary call going on. And the reason that we like Zoom for that is Zoom actually does such a good job at echo cancellation that it will allow you to play through even on speakers and not have any echo issues. It's really good. Zoom is very, very good for this, I have to say. And it doesn't matter if the quality of the Zoom call isn't stellar. That doesn't matter. What matters is the feed that I'm getting from each one of my callers, each one of my guests, and that's through the Stream Bridge is fantastic.
Yeah, actually what we could have done as a second backup, we were almost all ready to go before this and just didn't quite have things put together, but Restream Studio or StreamYard also would have been honestly fine for what we're doing right now, which is basically just a side-by-side view. That's a cloud-based streaming switcher, right? Where we both feed in webcams to a web page and then they do the merging of the image. Because right now, like I'm doing the encoding here, pushing to Restream, which is pushing to both of our channels, and I'm showing a computer monitor and a camera, whereas Restream Studio and StreamYard actually sort of offload all that work into the cloud. For this kind of show, it's actually super, super nice, and we probably should have just switched to that backup plan earlier than we were scrambling trying to get this set up.
Yeah, I have to say, StreamYard works really, really well. The reason that I can't use StreamYard for a lot of my client production is because I need to record ISOs of everybody.
Right.
And so that negates that, takes that away. But yeah, no, StreamYard is cool, and it's getting better. They've upgraded to 1080p now. You have more control over the videos that you play through. I think there's an unlimited video playback now. They have a way to do that instead of just you had like a 10-minute video clip that you could play maximum before, I think. So StreamYard's pretty slick. It's definitely a nice service. So with Restream, you can do live switching in, like feed multiple streams into Restream now and use it as a software switcher?
Well, no, they basically built what StreamYard does. It's called Restream Studio.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever even played with that. I haven't ever played with it. Cool.
Super cool.
Oh, good to know. Yeah. Everybody's in the game now, man. There's so many options. It's awesome. But there still is not the perfect option for what I need. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the chat here too. Curtis is saying that he was having troubles with Ecamm Live's interview feature recently.
Oh,
it's no fun.
Darn, yeah.
Because I had heard that was working really well.
There's a couple questions about the media player. And I did notice that it still only does stills. They did not add the animated media player feature that the 2ME has. So you still can only do still frames.
Right. And I will say for that, don't be too terribly disappointed. The ability to play video clips on a 2ME is very, very limited. So even on my big, huge 2ME, first of all, all it really is not a video storage. It is a still store that is designed to play back one frame at a time, frames in a row in sequence. So if you have a video to play with audio, you have to, first of all, it has to be within the limit, and it's a very, very constrained limit. If you're doing 4K, it's even smaller buffer. If you're doing 1080p, you do get more frames, but I think it's only 720 frames maximum, if I remember, even at 1080p. I think that's right. If you have a video with audio you want to play, you have to export video as frames. So you have a frame sequence, and then extract your audio separately and upload those as separate pieces into the ATEM and put those into the audio and the media player side by side and play them both at once. It is super convoluted and ridiculous. It really, the only real benefit of it is if you want to do like an animated bumper logo in the corner kind of a thing that comes in every once in a while and plays out for a handful of frames and then leaves, it's good for that. I used to use it when I did my live show before, where I had a slide would come up and there'd be a music intro that would be in there, so that could be triggered by a macro. But it's really very limited. If you want real video playback, then you need to have a video deck hooked up to it. And if you want real video playback with alpha channel, then you need to have one with dual SDI output hooked into a big deck. So yeah, it's a bummer that it doesn't have it, but don't be too disappointed, because even the bigger ones don't have what they have. Is not very good.
That's a great point. Yeah, don't think of it as video playback. It's for little animations and stingers and transitions and stuff. It's not a video playback feature.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, there's lots of other options for video playback. The iMix app I've talked about a bunch. It's for iPad, and you can load in a bunch of video clips on that, queue them all. It can be scripted as well. Hyperdeck, of course, works great. So.
Hyperdeck's great, and Hyperdeck has dual SDI, so you can load up a video with an alpha in there as well. Wait, 4444 video, yeah, which is pretty slick. Someone's asking if I use Final Cut. Yes, I do. Do you think you can record program with the web presenter, or you still have a recorder? It didn't have any recording capabilities in it.
I didn't see any recording capabilities. It's webcam and streaming.
Now, I wonder with the USB-C output if you could hook up a deck to that. Did he talk about that at all?
I don't think he mentioned it.
Because it's got that USB port on the front you can plug in for tethering or for control. That'd be interesting if you could record off of that, but it doesn't. The word record does not show up on the product page. So I'm guessing not.
Yeah. Missed that would opportunity.
Yeah, that seems like an obvious feature now that someone says that. It does seem like an obvious feature.
But I mean, the Hyperdeck is what you use for rack mount recording. So.
Well, yeah, but that's $700 as opposed to a $50 USB-C drive.
Sure.
And they clearly have the ability to write to USB-C drives, right? They do it off of the cameras. They do it off of the decks. Like, that's a normal thing for them.
It would have been like taking the ATEM Mini, taking all the switching out of the ATEM Mini and just putting that into that little rack mount gear, right?
Right.
Streaming.
Yeah, it's a switcherless ATEM Mini. Yeah. That's what it is. Oh, it's got Wi-Fi. Not that you should ever use Wi-Fi for streaming, but it's got Wi-Fi.
What has Wi-Fi?
Web Presenter. I'm just looking at the product page at the very top. There's a little row of symbols: SDIN, USB-C, Ethernet, Wi-Fi.
There's an icon that says Wi-Fi, but there's no mention of it elsewhere. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, is it because it can tether?
I don't know. That is literally the only reference to Wi-Fi on their page is that little badge on there. It doesn't say anything about what it does.
Yep.
Oh, in your chat, someone's saying something to me. MT Stuttering says they write about an extra HDMI monitor. Sorry, I don't understand what you were saying.
The HDMI output from that web presenter has a lot of cool monitoring features, if that's what you mean.
Oh, if that's what you're talking about, yeah, no, that's super cool, that's the primary reason that I want one, is because of those monitoring features. I think that's really, really cool. Because now I need another monitor in here. Like, Jesus, this is getting ridiculous. Fascinating. Oh, this is fun, man. This is fun. This is a good set of updates. We didn't even talk about the camera. Do we want to talk about the 6K?
Yeah. It's like I said, so my only experience with Blackmagic cameras is the Pocket 4K, and only in the studio environment. I don't go out and film like, cinema stuff.
Yeah, it has built-in ND filters, which I think that's new, right? The 6K does not have that, and they're actually drop-in filters, not electronic ND. That is exciting. That's very cool. Nice. And it's interesting that it's just the mechanics of how that camera is built, the physicality of it. There's actually a space to drop that in, which is slick. Most cameras don't have that. They don't have the room for it until you get into big cinema cameras. But no, that's a cool feature. Built-in ND is great.
Big thing they added, flip-up screen. I think that's huge for this use case, especially for me. Like, I have it over there, and I have to plug in a monitor in order to see what's on it because I'm on the other side of the camera. So, now that you can flip it up, that makes it great for a studio camera. For that,
you can flip it up, but can you flip it out? It didn't do it. It's not articulating, is it? It's just
it goes down and up, not sideways.
So you can't selfie it, right? Yeah. Score one for the S1H. Still the camera with the best LCD. Flip up and flip out. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I will say that $500 for that electronic viewfinder, that's a bit of a...
Those things are always expensive. Really? I don't understand why.
Yeah, it's a tiny little LCD monitor and a
Yeah.
viewfinder. Why is that $500? That seems to that's like a little bit mean. I mean, at that point, I don't know. That's a bit much. I think that's too
Yeah.
much.
I don't know. Like it looks like a great camera. I will say I was disappointed there weren't more new features in it, like
Mm,
webcam out. Why not put that into it, right? Like, why can't you plug it into a computer, use it as a webcam? That's cool. That'd be really cool. Or like, why not put a streaming encoder into it? Everyone's shipping cameras plus an encoder out, right? Why not ship a streaming encoder into the camera itself? That would be some like pushing the limit, the definition of what a camera is. That would have been really cool. But I mean, it looks like a
yeah,
solid upgrade for the camera. But I'm not like, I wouldn't say super excited about it.
yeah. See, people in my chat saying the viewfinder should be part of the package. Yeah, I could see where they might do. Actually, they never really do promos, do they? And that's an opportunity for a promo. Buy the 6K Pro, and for the first 3 months, you'll get the viewfinder for free.
Oh yeah,
It's like when Panasonic, when Lumix did the S1, the first 3 months you could get the Vlog upgrade for free. You know, those kind of promos would be nice. But I don't think
I mean, they're
Blackmagic really
doing it
does
with
one.
the speed editor. If you buy Resolve, you get the speed editor, which seems like it would be the other way around. But
Oh, right, that little hardware thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that flash by. I was like, that was when we were really in the thick of trying to get things to work. I totally didn't see that. It looks. I'm like, oh, hardware, cool.
I mean that they announced that a while ago, but I don't remember what they mentioned in relation to the new ATEM, but it is
Yeah.
yeah, cool device.
Yeah.
Samuel says
Yeah.
video assist monitors receive webcam support over USB. Why didn't they do it for the Blackmagic cameras? That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
That's
that
it. Yeah,
that
exactly.
seems like they should have added that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Curtis is
Grass
saying
Valley Camp.
not something I'd buy and sell the existing 6K. Yeah, it's a nice upgrade, but
Right.
no reason to like jump out and buy and replace your cameras.
Right.
Now the ATEM on the Mini, on the other hand, I definitely see the ATEM Mini Extreme replacing a lot of people's uses of the ATEM Mini Pro and ISO, just
Sure.
because it is a lot more inputs, a lot more capable.
It
I'm
is.
probably
And
going to do that. I'm probably going to switch my main ATEM on my desk here to the Extreme ISO. Still going to keep a Pro, probably still an ISO actually around. Just for it's more portable. It's if you only need 4 cameras, it's easier to take that. But as far as like the main switcher on my desk, definitely going to be the Extreme.
yeah, I think if I didn't have a 2ME, then I would absolutely be ordering that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not quite what I need. And I will point out too, just I said this earlier, but for those who join later, if you already own an ATEM Mini, an ATEM Mini Pro, or an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and your issue is you don't have enough inputs, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because the next video that I release is about how to add 3 more HDMI inputs to your ATEM Mini for $100 a piece. And I can leave it at that because I don't want to give away the whole story. But
Nice. Yeah.
I'm sure some people figure out what that is. But it's a cool video. It's going to be an easy one. It's going to be fun. Yeah, that's next.
Yep.
So you don't have to buy, if you don't need all those other features, all you need is more inputs. Watch my next video before you order. Oh man.
Graham asks, so you'll be moving more stuff home to build up the studio there in case of more snow? Actually, ironically, it's the other way around. I had home set up as a full studio, and I've been slowly moving things here. And I actually do have a functional studio at home still, and that's where I did my show on Sunday. I used the home studio. It was definitely not as full featured as my normal streams, but it's enough to do even 2 cameras. I think I only used 1, but I can do 2 cameras. It's still using an ATEM Mini Pro. I have my chat plug-in and everything working fine at home. So I'm gonna keep the small studio at home, but yeah, here's gonna get the nice big Extreme. I've been running into, like, even for my own shows, live streams, I've been running into the limits of having 4 inputs. And with this big SDI switcher, I can reassign the inputs, which is really convenient. So I can be like, oh, now I need people to have this camera, and then input 2 switches between the wireless camera and my computer screen, for example. or one input's taken up for the chat, one input's taken up for the countdown timer, which I could then swap out. So I'm looking forward to not have to like reassign those all the time with 8 inputs, because I think 8 will get me through most of what I need now.
Yeah. I mean, even for a regular show like this, use a couple of inputs, and that's really all I need.
Yep.
You don't need that many for most stuff. But hey, yay! Hi, this guy Yuri in the chat is talking about how he just got his constellation. Well, isn't that nice?
That is.
For anybody who doesn't know, that's the 8K switcher from Blackmagic. That's a pretty piece of hardware right there.
Sounds like a rocket ship, though. And I appreciate that they actually tried to keep the same form factor and keep it quiet with the Mini Extreme. Yes. So it's still supposed to be pretty quiet compared to rack mount gear.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because I have my rack in the main studio, and there's a lot of gear in there, and it's definitely rack mounted gear. It's loud, and there's short of building a big ISO cage around it, there's nothing that I can do, and I'm not going to do that. So noise assist on the noise assist plugin on the MixPre is what solves that problem for me for anything out in the main studio. So can't cut the sound out of the devices, so I cut the sound out of the microphone. It works. It does work.
Yep. Art Audio asks, is the 8.6 upgrade a YOLO box killer? Which is an interesting question, because with tethering, that was like the main feature the YOLO box has compared to the ATEMs. Is with the ATEM, you always need a lot of extra hardware to make it, give it a network connection. So definitely interesting now that you can just plug your phone in to give it the internet connection. I will say it still requires more hardware. You need a monitor to see what you're doing. And the YOLO box is a monitor built in, right? So I still think there's good uses of both of them. I think for super on the go portable, you want just one camera, go live, that's YOLO box is great for that. I'm still looking forward to doing another stream on that myself on my channel. I made the mistake of leaving it at my studio, and it got snowed in, and I couldn't use it on Sunday because it was at the studio and I was at home. I was going to use it for that stream. Would have been perfect for that. But no, I still think they're very different devices. I think that the trying to use an ATEM Mini Pro, even with the cell phone tethering, still is going to require a lot of wires and power, batteries, right? The YOLO box has a battery in it too. So
right.
I think there's good uses of both of them still.
Yep. Some questions for me coming up in your channel. Sigmund says, if you rely purely, and this is a good question because this kind of is a recap for anybody who came in later. If you rely purely on an ATEM Mini to do everything, what in practical terms can the Extreme do that the Pro ISO cannot? Is it worth the upgrade if you're relying on this one piece of hardware? So if you don't need the additional inputs, and you've already got a Pro ISO, so you've got the streaming capability, you've got the ability to record your live program with the camera angle switches, and you don't need the extra inputs. I mean, there's extra features over the cameras if you're using Blackmagic Cinema cameras. If you're not using those, then none of those features do you any good. There's the macro buttons on there, which is a very nice feature, but I would rather have a Stream Deck and control my buttons through there than trying to find those tiny little buttons on the ATEM Extreme amongst all the other tiny buttons on the ATEM Extreme. I think the buttons are too easy to misfire, especially if you're producing your own live show. It's just too many little buttons. It's too easy to hit the wrong ones. So if it's just about the macros, I'd rather do that through a Stream Deck, which is quite cheap. What else would be missing?
Well, I mean, 2 USB outs means you can record to a drive and use it as a webcam, which I'm very much looking forward to. And
that is
Super
cool.
Source.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that.
I mean, just a little thing.
Oh, yeah, that little feature. Yeah. If you're doing something where you want to have multiple picture-in-pictures, it's a good way to describe it, then that's something you cannot do with the ATEM Mini, any of them. So that's pretty good. I agree. Digital Creations is saying the fade to black button should have been moved. I agree. I have hit that accidentally more than once. Not cool.
Yep.
Definitely not cool.
Chroma keyers, additional chroma keyers is also super cool. So you can do there's going to be some really cool virtual set stuff coming out, I think, with bringing in multiple cameras, multiple people with green screen background onto a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting too. I don't ever do any green screen stuff. I feel like something I should play with, but yeah, I don't know. Never have. Never have. Harold is asking, I don't know this, but maybe you do, Aaron. Do you know if you can make a macro for doing a next clip on the hyperdeck? I would imagine so, but I don't know.
No, I was talking about this with somebody, and it looks like when you press the next button on the software, it's actually writing the number of the next clip into the macro. So if you're playing clip 4 and you press next, it actually, in the macro, it writes play clip 5. It doesn't write go to the next macro. So...
Or go to the next clip. Huh.
Or yeah, go to the next clip. So it'll always play that clip, which is not what you want. You want to be able to like toggle through clips.
Yeah. Next.
Kind of surprised.
I wonder if Companion will do it. I'm going to take a look real quick.
Yeah, because the button on the hyperdeck has next and previous clips.
Right.
So I would have thought that the ATEM does too, but apparently not. I haven't actually double checked that because I didn't have my hyperdeck. I was stuck at home and I couldn't use my studio because the power was out.
Okay, so I see that's a question that has come up before. All right, let me just take a look in hyperdeck. Play, record, stop, go to clip, go for. Yeah, okay. So if you're using Companion, you can. Companion has an option on the hyperdecks to go forward n number of clips. So go forward 1 clip or go forward 5 clips. So that would give you the next.
There we go.
So use hyperdeck to do it. But now that you've turned me on to hyperdeck, I'm a hyperdeck like full on shill.
The Stream Deck.
Sorry, yeah,
all these words are the
Companion.
same.
Now that you've turned me on to, I know.
Hyper Stream.
Now that you turned me on to Companion, which I am combining with the Stream Deck, but it's Companion itself that is the killer feature, and then the Stream Deck is just a convenience factor. But yeah, okay. So get Companion. It's free. And it has the ability to make those buttons. And then you buy a Stream Deck to give you hardware to push buttons on instead of software, and it's even better. But that you have to pay for.
Okay. Courtney says we didn't talk about the internal routing assignment switcher on top of the Extreme. Yeah, that was a really interesting one. The whole row of buttons on the top for sort of reassigning video sources. But I think I'm going to need to play around with that for sure, to really get a sense of how that makes sense, like what kind of workflows that makes sense for. But having the 2 HDMI outs, aux outs, is super, super powerful. Like, do not underestimate that.
Right. Yeah, that looks interesting as well. So many options. Yeah. Curtis says, can you use the ATEM 1ME advanced panel with the existing non-extreme ATEM Mini models?
I think I saw Grant demo that when the ATEM Mini first launched, and I was like, I don't know why you'd ever do that because that thing costs a ton of money compared to the ATEM Mini, but
right,
but
yeah, $13,000.
I think it works.
Yeah, I think it does because it's over Ethernet, right? It's just a network connected hardware. Yeah. Why is that thing so expensive? Yeah, it's just Ethernet connected, so it should totally work. Yeah, everybody should get everybody should get one of those $13,000 hardware controls to control a basic level $300 ATEM Mini.
Yep.
Perfect.
Using my ability.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Someone says you can even use the bigger panels. There you go. Yeah. Emmanuel saying the 2 HDMI outputs and the headphone jack is fire. Absolutely. That is very, very true. Curtis says it's expensive, but really nicely built. Oh, I'm sure it is. I have never laid hands on one, but I'm sure it's lovely. Too much fun. All right. I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry.
I know. Yeah, it's lunchtime. I think we should wrap it up here. This was a lot of fun.
This has been fun. This has been fun. Next time we do this, let's actually plan farther in advance and actually get everything working. Which,
yeah,
actually, that's perfect. That's a good segue to our next show together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. So we're doing a show with the two of us and John Barker from Here to Record. This is going to be a test bed for a potentially ongoing, like monthly or something show where the three of us come in to talk about all things live switching. The working title right now is Three Men and an ATEM. So we'll see if that sticks. But yeah, that should be fun, and that will be done with a hyperdeck, so we'll have the really high quality signal.
Yeah. Stream deck, streaming bridge. Oh my god.
What did I say?
Hyperdeck.
Oh my god.
Yeah, too many words. It's been a long day.
Streaming. It's well, yeah, I know. It's noon and it's been a long day already.
And we have a whole bunch of new words to learn too from this new announcement.
We do have a whole bunch of new words. Well, it's funny when even Grant's like trying to explain the was it the viewfinder or something?
Okay.
He got the names jumbled up. He's like, neurons in my brain. I get you, dude. I get it. Anyway, so that show next Thursday will be streamed on all of our channels. So as long as you're subscribed to any one of us, you'll see it. But subscribe to all of us because that's the way to do these things. And yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. And if you do want to buy a ATEM Mini Extreme or ISO, click the links.
Use the link in my description.
Use the links in my description. They're affiliate links. And
Use my description.
Update his to be affiliate links. And
exactly.
Yeah, DVE Store is listing these already. I'm sure the listings will pop up everywhere else too. So I'm going to go make sure that those links are updated. But
absolutely,
it's been a lot of fun, and I am super looking forward to playing around with this thing as soon as I can get my hands on one.
There we go. All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for hosting today's show.
Absolutely.
Restreaming it and all that.
Thanks to Restream.
Everybody else out there? There you go. Yes, absolutely. Everybody else out there, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next time.
See ya.